Orchestration has always been something that I have felt ABM platforms really unlocked in an organization. The challenge is that orchestration is most often limited to the partners that an ABM platform has and or their own tools, right, that the platform offers. We had a desire to go outside of that and say, we want to be able to connect to anything. We want to orchestrate across any part of the business that may or may not even be related to ABM. You can create a great orchestrated product, but if sales isn't on board, if SDRs aren't on board, if the creative team isn't on board, if everybody has to be on board to believe in this vision that you're executing. So at the end of the day, it has to be business focused, it has to be outcome focused, and the tool or the platform just becomes a mechanism to help you get to that goal faster. I kind of asked this question of, well, if I'm making a headcount request, what would my headcount request look like if the data could power the experience? What if it's orchestrated where it comes in and we know that the profile is data science based off of the topic, and we go get the data scientist profiles, push them directly to the proper outreach sequence for the SDRs, right? You're eliminating that middleman. And when you talk about execution beat strategy any day, that's eliminating a lot of those executional barriers.
Welcome to the new automation mindset, where AI, automation, and integration come together. I'm your host, Markus Zirn, and as Chief Strategy Officer and part of the founding executive team at Workato, it is my mission to find these top innovators in AI, automation, and integration and share their journeys with all of you. This podcast is inspired by the Wall Street Journal best-selling book with the same title, written by Workato CEO Vijay Tella. If you would like a free copy of the book, be sure to listen for a special offer at the end of today's episode. So today, my guest is Hillary Carpio. She's the Senior Director of Growth Marketing at Snowflake, and she's been there 4.5 years, so joining pre-IPO. Congratulations. That's obviously an amazing company. Now, Hillary is also the first guest on my podcast who is not from the IT department. So it's going to be special. And so Hillary is an ABM expert, so account-based marketing. And in this episode, we're really looking at automation technology through the lens of a business owner. I guess that's what you are, Hillary. Let me start off with saying that I really enjoyed reading your book, Busting Silos. I really love it. It's a masterpiece, in my opinion, on account-based B2B marketing. And, just like we're a B2B company and I work a little bit on our go-to-market, there's a lot of pages that are ear-marked and took notes from. So I'm glad I read it. Maybe you want to share a little bit with the audience about your book also. Let's talk a little bit in the beginning about what account-based marketing is, what the purpose was that you had with the book. Let's get people up to speed.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the feedback and thanks for having me. So Busting Silos is a work that my colleague Travis Henry and I did together. He leads the SDR operations function here at Snowflake. And we had the opportunity to share how we are bringing the organization together, not only through sales and marketing, but SDRs, marketing, ops, et cetera, all the way across the board. And certainly not just the two of us, right? There's a huge operation happening here at Snowflake to garner the success that we're seeing. But we are both very operationally minded. And when we have these ideas of how we should work together, how we should build projects and build the business, him and I both asked the first question of how are we going to do it? What are the systems? What are the processes? And beyond technology, what are the processes for the human behavior in order to achieve what we're trying to achieve? So for a sense of scale, we've got about 20 ABM dedicated individuals in North America, about 30 globally. There's more than 250 SDRs, thousands of salespeople. So the scale at which we need to orchestrate to get the same message to the same people, or the right message to the right people at the right time, is pretty massive. So account-based marketing is known to be a boutique form of marketing where we have very one-to-one to one-to-few style campaigns really messaged and targeted toward what that account needs and what that account is focused on. We here at Snowflake do that at a very large scale. So we do one-to-one, one-to-few, and one-to-many, targeting upwards of 10,000 accounts in total at those different tiers. So We really focus on the outbound function using ABM, account-based marketing, to help bolster the efficiency of an SDR. So we're looking at 2 to 4x the meeting rate, so accounts targeted and meetings completed in those accounts, than when ABM is not paired with the SDR outbound function. So very much outbound here at Snowflake, focused for the ABM team.
Awesome. Now, what is a little different from you guys to probably other people doing ABM out there is, I mean, you could go out and buy an ABM product or platform that exists. Now, you guys chose not to. You guys chose to kind of almost like build that solution yourself, assemble that ABM tech stack. Maybe you can tell us a little bit. I mean, first of all, what was the motivation? Why? Seems like more work, but I mean, there must be some good reason for it. And then number two, also, like, what are the pieces? Like, what makes up that ABM solution for you guys?
Yeah, there's some great ABM solutions on the market, and we've been customers of them. I have here at Snowflake as well as other companies. What we had come to realize is that for our sophistication of where we're at in our journey for what we're calling one team go-to-market, we're saying ABM is an account-based approach. One team go-to-market is the entire go-to-market team coming together. We have a unique ability with our own product to do machine learning-based scoring for our accounts and really take into consideration a lot of data available to us through the use of our tool we call Snowhouse here internally. So that was the first motivation, is to do our own scoring, and the accuracy of that scoring is very, very high. So we're very fortunate to have a very talented marketing intelligence team to help us there. And then followed on that, orchestration has always been something that I have felt ABM platforms really unlocked in an organization. You know, it's an individual contributor at previous companies using the built-in orchestration to launch ads, to build segments, to orchestrate a whole flow based off of third-party intent and first-party behavior. That was really powerful. The challenge is that orchestration is most often limited to the partners that an ABM platform has and or their own tools, right, that the platform offers, which there's nothing wrong with and is super beneficial for a lot of people. We had a desire to go outside of that and say, we want to be able to connect to anything. We want to orchestrate across any part of the business that may or may not even be related to ABM. And what that turned into was a quest where we essentially built an internal ABM platform, if you will, where we now have a single source of truth for all of sales, SDRs as well, where they can come and see their accounts, how they're scored, if they've been touched or not by the SDR or by the sales folks, as well as third-party intent, first-party intent, campaign responses, you name it. And then they're able to click on those accounts and actually see which individuals are engaging as well, and then activate them in outreach directly from Salesforce. So we have a Tableau dashboard that is integrated into Salesforce, and then that's where the sales team is viewing it based off of their permissions. And that's how we've put it together. And the rest is history. It's been a very successful project here internally.
Cool. So, I mean, for the newbies in account-based marketing, so it seems like there's a lot of intelligence data. It could be all kinds of intent data or you know, what do people do? What is maybe the firmographics of these customers, all of that kind of stuff. And then you have on the other side different channels in how you can engage these people, I guess, you know, through SDRs or maybe through marketing emails or you know, could be ads, could be, you know, physical things you sent them. And then looks like in the middle, there's almost like an orchestration layer, which is, first of all, you orchestrate all that data. And obviously for that, you know, no surprise, you would use your own product, Snowflake. And then it seems like for the orchestration then of the workflows of what flows you guys picked Workato to work with that together. You did mention like the scale is just enormous. I mean, that's really big. It makes me think of the you know, your ex-CEO's Frank Slutman's quote with the execution beats strategy every day. It seems like that's right. Getting the operations going, it's key of the solution. Is that how you guys look at it? I mean, I'm just curious in how you came up with this solution. Was that obvious, or were there things that you learned on the way things that you fine-tuned or tweaked from the beginning of that mission to now? Just curious.
Yeah, and I guess I should back up and give you a little idea of what our flow is for those new to account-based marketing. So an account-based marketer is similar to a field marketer in that they're aligned to an RVP of sales, really focused on a specific territory and set of accounts. We do have a named account model here at Snowflake, so there's a set name of accounts that we're focused on. And the ABM team brings a few different points of value. The first is account selection. So of the accounts in your name, which one should we be focusing on and with which message? So that's where we're bringing a lot of data to the table from first and third party resources to help make those selections. The second is to launch a digital campaign to those accounts with the message that we've identified. And so they're creating creative assets, advertising, microsite landing pages that are created for, the CFO versus the CIO versus practitioners, et cetera. So we're kind of surrounding this account with resources that are relevant to each of the different parts of the buying committee. That process as a whole is very human resource dependent to create all of these things. And that's fine. That's where we add a lot of value, right? Is to have that interaction with the sales team to really understand and distill what the narrative needs to be in these accounts combined with the data that's going to help tell us that. So the tools available to us on the market that come in one package do a really, really good job at the one-to-many level in, having thousands of accounts move between segments based off of intelligence and launch in different advertising mediums, et cetera. We were running into some challenges that we felt we could overcome with our own product, like I said, in scoring in particular. And that's essentially what started driving it. But then we started talking about what if we could connect elsewhere? What if we could connect to any tool we wanted to use? We're using multiple different ad platforms across the board. We're using our CRM. We have all different ways we can automate. And so I kind of asked this question of, well, if I'm making a headcount request, what would my headcount request look like if the data could power the experience? And when the data comes into Snowhouse and it creates the segments, what if an SDR doesn't have to go get the contacts out of ZoomInfo? What if it's orchestrated where it comes in and we know that the profile is data science based off of the topic, and we go get the data scientist profiles from ZoomInfo and push them directly to the proper outreach sequence for the SDRs, right? You're eliminating that middleman. And when you talk about execution beat strategy any day, that's eliminating a lot of those executional barriers. When you have a lot of individuals that you're trying to enable on a fairly complex process, you now take out that middle conversation that we were having of, hey, did you sequence these contacts? Hey, what is the right conversation, right? So we're getting to that execution piece a lot faster by orchestrating the processes that just don't need to be done by a human.
Okay. And I'm just thinking how this works, because it seems that you do account-based marketing, but then it seems like there's individual campaigns. You come up with ideas and then you run by them, and then maybe like a couple of weeks later, you have some new ideas and run those. Are you retweaking kind of how the platform works? Like, would you actually reconfigure maybe for a given campaign how these things are automated?
Yeah, so we wouldn't reconfigure the platform, or we wouldn't reconfigure, say, the orchestrations, but we would reconfigure the output. So we have different kind of tiers of how we think about campaigns. And there's tiers that are, say, based off of certain themes, and accounts are going to come in and out of those themes. And therefore, their experience will change, but the actual campaign won't. Then we have highly boutique campaigns that we're running on our fairly large accounts where we're sitting down with the sales rep every other week. And as their conversations change, we're manually changing the experience. And that's totally fine, right? We're good at and happy to manually change where it makes sense. It's where we need to do things at bigger scale and broader scale and don't have the human input from, say, the sales team or ourselves that will rely on data to kind of warm up accounts at a bigger level.
So look, I'm sitting here listening to everything you said, and I'm obviously trying to make sense of all of this with my IT mindset. It makes me all think of something Gartner came up with where they talk about the composable enterprise. That whole, almost like busting silos or bridging across people. It's kind of, if you think about composition, what it is you have multiple sets of data, you have multiple tools, and you're trying to put together a solution. It seems to me like what you've built there really fits nicely. And this is an example. Like when we think at Workato of how we can add value to our customers, we always think in terms of a pyramid. It's like at the bottom. I mean, some people pick Workato simply because they want a better application to application connectivity, integration. So, Workato is low code and it's fast. And so, but really they don't think about more than just moving, I don't know, something from Salesforce to maybe the finance application. And that's fine. There's some value. I don't think it's all the value yet. I think there's some a set of customers who take it to the next level and they think in terms of end-to-end business processes. Maybe instead of just moving from CRM to finance, they would say like, oh, here's our order to cash process, and let's kind of automate that. It's often more back-end focused. It's about efficiency and so on. Like it seems to me what you guys have done is like yet another level, another notch on top, which I would say I call it you orchestrated a solution, and that solution it orchestrates across not just like one application to another, it's across multiple applications. Your CRM is in there, your marketing automation tool is in there, outreach for the SDRs is in there, the ad system, all of that. You're also orchestrating across people. That's what the whole busting silos, I guess, is all about. And then I think that gets us into a very interesting next step is like, it's not just about manual steps because the data is involved, right? Because a lot of it's data triggered or data driven, and you're operationalizing data with the workflow. And so that all of that put together, I think it's more than just manual processes. It's a data driven solution, an orchestration solution. I don't know, how does that feel? Does that make sense in a way?
Yeah, it does. And and I think we're really focused on activation. And I think that's a good term to throw in there as well. And what was coming to mind as you were saying that is third-party intent data, which comes from tens of thousands of publishers to understand what individuals at the companies you care about most are doing in terms of research online, essentially, right? Like what are they doing, so you can get an idea of who's going to raise their hand before they raise it and what they want to talk about. That particular set of data in the industry tends to be something that people have a hard time activating. So like, yes, this is interesting, but what do I do with it? And that's something that we had uniquely figured out at Snowflake, was really how to use and activate that data in the market with, across the teams in order to do. And when I think about Workato, it's essentially an activation mechanism at scale. So we can take that data, we can, use our marketing data cloud within our own product to get all the data in one place and understand it. But then we can activate even bigger. We can activate more intelligently. We can activate faster, and we can activate with more accuracy also, right? If it's coming straight from the data. So yeah, definitely an activation tool. And we even said, hey, this isn't a dashboard; it's an action board. So any of the modules that you look at on this Tableau action board that we created as our own ABM platform, my colleague Travis and I went through each of them and said, what are you going to do with this information? And if the action is not clear, then we took it off. So everything on that action board is intended to drive action, exactly that. And so that's what the whole project is focused around.
That's really cool. And it makes me think of one of the co-authors of the book together with our CEO, Vijay, is actually Scott Brinker. And, if people here from the marketing world are listening in, they might know him. I think he's like the chief MarTech is one of the terms that he has. He was the one, this landscape of all the different SaaS applications in marketing, that started with like 300 and now you can't even get them on one slide anymore. There's so many. He actually started that exercise. He wrote a really interesting article, which talk about activation, right? He says everybody talks about big data, and big data is fine. But he says, I don't understand why people always stop at big data and just looking at, reports on the data. He says, it's what you do with that data that matters. So you shouldn't be thinking of big data. You should be thinking about big operations. So that whole activation or kind of taking action on data, I think he said, like, I think we got to do more of that. It seems to me like really what you guys build with, obviously with Snowflake, you have an amazing platform to take all that data, apply data science, get it into the right form. But then, together with Workato, you can now take actions on all of that data and whatever the systems needs to be. I'm curious, how does that look like on a day-to-day basis? Like these activation flows, like, how often do you modify them? How many people work on them? Is there anything? I'm just curious. Are these people who work on these activation flows, are they in IT? Are they in marketing? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so there's a member of our marketing operations team by the name of Emily Carroll, and she was originally hired to be dedicated to account-based marketing for our ops needs. And she has become the Workato expert of the organization. And I was just looking at our spreadsheet here. She now has 17 recipes that she has set up and created cross-functionally with the team. So she is the liaison to IT when we do need IT support for different setting up initial connectors, perhaps not editing them, but setting them up. And she's kind of the mastermind behind what has now become, because that's what I was talking about. The platform was the initial use case. And I think I don't remember, I think we started with like 5 recipes or something. It certainly wasn't 17. And what's ended up happening is she now is identifying pieces of processes that exist, from simple things like list uploads to creating ad audiences in a very sophisticated way with our digital marketing team. She's identifying where we can orchestrate a lot of those pieces and those connectors. So she's really the, counterpart of mine in the business side, but then also leans very technical to be able to execute. So she's really the center of it, and working with other people in marketing ops, working with people in marketing intelligence, as well as, like I said, working with the IT team when she needs to get things set up. But primarily it's owned by marketing on execution, setup, etc.
And just to be clear, there's the one person, it's Emily.
Yeah. Yeah, and she does have people help her, but she's the expert. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool because you have big scale, right? You have, what was it, hundreds of SDRs and even more AEs, and then a very a solid ABM team on the marketing side. But for the whole automation, it's a fairly it's a fairly reasonably sized team. It's not huge. It's not like this takes. It takes tens or thousands, well, hundreds of people to actually do that. I mean, you can be lean about that, and probably. So what I imagine also, because I mentioned that example with order to cash, right? So some of those processes, they probably don't change much over time. Versus in marketing, at least as far as I know, there's always new ideas. There's always new ways of doing things. I imagine you're tweaking constantly with this stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure she's doing a lot behind the scenes on a regular basis. We do try to build our processes so that they're very flexible and can pull from different fields as we, create new labels and create different categories and segments. But it will always be an evolution. And, the second in anything in marketing and anything here at Snowflake, if we were to stop innovating, we wouldn't do our jobs correctly. So we're always looking for new and better ways to improve, but just continuing to increase the sophistication of what we do. And that takes a daily focus on everything. Cool.
Now we talked about activation and the workflows and all of this. Obviously, at the heart of all of this is the data science, the AI, and so on across all the data. Now, last year was all about generative AI. I'm just curious, where's the journey going in that respect? Is there new stuff being added? Any things you guys working on there? Can you see a future of even better ABM and better kind of core, AI services?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a speed element with AI that, when you do account research, when you're having these conversations, and especially for an SDR who's putting together very boutique outreach, there's an opportunity to make that research a heck of a lot faster when you're able to have a tool synthesize it for you and recommend messaging. it's a lot easier said than done on the generative AI front. I think we've all seen some of the initial outputs of those models, and they're certainly not something that sound like something any of us would say and be proud of. So we are working through what that could look like. And we do have a pilot internally led by Travis and his team on using generative AI to help expedite that process. And we're seeing great results so far. But we're going to continue to test it and make sure that, at the end of the day, we put the customer experience first, and that customer is getting the absolute best experience, whether it's being generated by AI and then being adapted by a human, or if it's being generated and finished by a human. So either way, the customer experience comes first, and we'll make sure that they are not getting some robotic message from us.
And then the all the models around scoring of accounts and so on, it seems like it's mostly traditional AI. It's the data science, right?
To my understanding, yeah, we are continuing to evolve. We do have our Cortex product focused on AI, and our marketing intelligence team is starting to leverage that more and more, so that it is incorporated into a lot of what we're doing today across all of our different models we use at Snowflake.
I'm just curious. So you've embarked on that journey to assemble this yourself. I mean, it's almost like you became a product manager for
unintentionally.
Unintentionally.
Yeah.
I've actually, so Workato was the first place, when I was part of the founding executive team, where I actually didn't do product management. This was what I did. It seems like you went the other way. I don't know how that journey felt. I mean, do you feel? I mean, are you sometimes talking to maybe product managers at Snowflake and saying like, hey, what should I do differently? Or I'm just curious. It's just one of those thoughts that came to me. It feels like a product manager.
Yeah, it was never the intention to become a product manager, but that was for a period of time certainly felt like that as we were developing this solution. But we have a get it done value and mentality here at Snowflake, and certainly something I embrace myself just personally of we wanted to build it. We had a vision and just do what you need to do to get it there, and work cross-functionally to do so. Our product individuals are focused on very big, important projects that are really moving the needle for the company. And while we haven't worked together with them directly on this, we have been working with our marketing intelligence team, who is very connected to the product team and who has done a lot of work with them along the way.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it seems like I can just talk about it from the Workato perspective, but that lead funnel, that marketing at the front end is just crucial. I mean, it's really important. I imagine it's something that maybe even the CEO asks about, right? How it goes, or maybe how it sometimes maybe it doesn't work as well as it should. But I'm sure it has attention.
Yeah,
that's my sense.
Yeah. And our previous CEO, the book that we wrote, Busting Silos, talks about this end state of using something like Snowflake to build this machine, and using orchestration tools as well. And our prior CEO, Frank Slootman, was part of the book and put in his own interview and guidance and stuff there. So certainly a big team effort, because you can also create something and create a great orchestrated product. But if sales isn't on board, if SDRs aren't on board, if the creative team isn't on board, if everybody has to be on board to believe in this vision that you're executing, you can't just execute against something that nobody wants to be a part of. So at the end of the day, it has to be business focused, it has to be outcome focused, and the tool or the platform just becomes a mechanism, right, to help you get to that goal faster.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the thing that's remarkable, I believe, given especially the scale that you guys have, organizational scale, is, if you talk to someone in banking, let's say you go back in the past, like 15 years, right? And there isn't something like Snowflake. There isn't something like Workato. I mean, it would be a major effort to build a solution like you guys just did. I mean, it was just, maybe it's just not feasible, period. I mean, you would need an army of developers. You'd start building, you take your CD with your Oracle database and start, installing it and so on. And then it'll just take months and months and months. I think it's a testament where, SaaS-based platform technology like Snowflake and Workato have come, and also, you know, the marketing tools having APIs, right? Because they're mostly SaaS in your world, and how someone like yourself then can become that unintentional product manager and pull something off that 15 years ago would have been inconceivable. It's actually it's really cool. So tell me, Hillary, if you think about people in the audience, let's say someone, maybe we intrigued someone to do something similar. Say like, hey, I want to build my own ABM tech stack. I want to pull that off. Like, any lessons learned? Anything you would give them advice? Maybe what to do, what to not to do?
Yeah, my advice is very often the same, which is make sure there's a problem that you're solving and not that you're looking for a problem for your solution that you've already created. So you need to identify where are the gaps in a process that already works, right? You need to know the pieces that we put together. For example, we had been doing manually and we knew the outcome was very impactful. So it was a matter of making that more efficient and scaling it out. I don't think I would try doing it for the first time and then hoping it has good results. So you want to make sure you understand the process before you start and that you have individuals on board to support you and help build it who understand that impact as well. So that when you do hit road bumps, you know how to work through it together. So that'd be my number one piece of advice. And my second piece of advice is to always come back to the customer. In this case, our customers, our sales and SDR teams, and understanding what do they need on a daily basis. I think it's very easy to get lost, especially in marketing, in the flashiness of the UI, in what could be done and how it could build some campaign or some different outcome. But at the end of the day, like I said, the audience is sales and they have different needs than, say, a marketer does. So keep coming back to who your customer is and how you can best serve them. And that's how it'll get adoption.
Mm-hmm. Almost sounds like a lesson in general product management.
That's what I was thinking as I was finishing that. Yeah,
you've come a long way. I think you can you can become a product manager next.
my next
really,
life, yeah.
Really cool. I imagine the scoring stuff is probably also, you probably need like the right, I don't know, either internal data science people or maybe an agency or something to help with that, right? Because that's it's probably a critical element. I don't know. Did you guys have any stories of maybe, I mean, you mentioned on the Gen AI side, you had to iterate and maybe the first tries weren't perfect. Similar things on the scoring model? Is there some steps you went through there?
Yeah, and I'll be clear. I mean, I did not come up with the scoring on my own, right? Marketing intelligence is a very robust team with very talented resources who has led that initiative. But I think the name of the game with any scoring is flexibility and being adaptive, and a combination of the mathematical side of being adaptive, but then also how do you continue to update what the inputs are, what their weights are, et cetera. So it's just been a continuing conversation over the course of the last several years is what is the score today? How do we evolve it? How does it impact what we do in the business? Do we add additional scores for, say, customers versus prospects, open opportunities? So we've just continued to expand on that scoring and just have to keep adapting, keep being flexible, and keep looking at what the current landscape of the business requires, because there's going to be data inputs and there's going to be data outputs that are different from a year ago.
Mm-hmm. And I'm just curious if you could put your magic wand up and say like any new stuff that you would like as a business owner from the technology platform or from the technology that you maybe don't have yet. Is there any wish list, any things you're thinking into the future?
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of potential in the Gen AI space. I think there's, I try to have regular conversations with vendors to understand what's building in the market. I do think we're a little bit ways away from solutions that are truly mimicking the emotion and intelligence of a human in how we speak to others. And so if I could wave a magic wand, I think a lot of it would be comprehending the data and creating a campaign with the copy and messaging, et cetera, that is really just spot on. And I'm inviting a lot of vendors to reach out to me from saying that. But I think that there is still a ways to go to get to that point where, it feels very natural. It doesn't feel robotic.
Mm-hmm. No, it's fascinating. I mean, look, I first of all, thank you. Thank you for joining us here. I really enjoyed that. I mean, to me, coming back to this idea of the orchestration solution, right? I think what you've built in a grand scale, where automation is almost necessary, right? It wouldn't work without automation. Is really cool. We're looking for those kind of solutions every day. I mean, we're finding, I mean, you might laugh about some of these examples, but one that I came across recently, which I thought was so cool. This is a fast food chain, and, you know, tipping is there, and you would be surprised by, like, you know, how complex certain rules are in states, and, you know, who gets what, how much does the cook get, and how much does the server get, and all of this. And so one of our customers, together with a consulting partner, built a tipping engine, almost like the same, with some calculations in there, with all the rules, taking all the data in, calculating the tips, and then putting it into the payroll. So it's very different from ABM, but I think in spirit, it's very much an orchestration solution. We had one company, aircraft servicing, that had a big partnership with a major aircraft part supplier. And they were all happy. And then the first week, they got 30,000 inquiry emails. And they're like, oh my God, maybe we're too small to handle that big partnership. And then they used AI and orchestrated, basically picking the 700 emails that were actual orders out of the 30,000. Which, you know, with people, they could have never done. But they orchestrated a solution, putting together like the email and the CRM system and the quoting system and automated all of that are in the spirit of like, hey, I can be a unintentional product manager, and I can actually, with all these SaaS tools and data platforms like Snowflake and so on, I can actually put and then a workflow orchestration with Workato, I can put together amazing solutions that, again, like 15 years ago would have been impossible. So yeah, I mean, look, I would say to everyone, if you guys have a chance, look at the book Busting Silos. I really enjoyed it, and thanks for you and Travis for writing it, and then thank you for the inspiration here. You know, having this orchestration solution. Anything? I'm just curious, Hillary. Any last words? Anything that maybe we didn't talk about that we should talk about, that you feel the audience should know?
I don't think there's anything specifically other than when it comes to orchestration, I think we're more limited by the confines of our imagination than we are by the technology. I second that totally. I actually tell people, like, you know, Workato makes the orchestration easy, but if you don't know exactly how and what you want to orchestrate, it can only be at so much value. I mean, it's limited in value, right? I mean, it depends on how big your imagination is and how, you know, in the book, we talk about the growth mindset, how much you can actually think beyond what is there and what could be ideal. If you have that inspiration, then I guess with a Workato and a Snowflake for the data and then Workato for the workflow, I think you have the shortest way to get it implemented. Yeah. Yeah. And surround yourself by smart people so that all together you come up with more ideas.
Perfect. Hey, Hillary, thank you so much for your time. And, you know, thanks for all the great work you're doing there at Snowflake.
Of course. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. If you like what you heard, we do have a special offer for you. If you share this or any other episode of the podcast on LinkedIn with the hashtag TNAM for the new automation mindset, that's TNAM, our team will reach out to you and make sure you get a free hardcover copy of the book by our Workato CEO, Vijay Tella. Please make sure to rate today's episode, leave us a comment with your thoughts, and subscribe to the show so you will never miss an episode. I'll see you next time.